Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We will go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. So as I just mentioned, this meeting is being recorded. And also, if you haven't already, just make sure you put your name and your agency in the chat. That would be great. So we'll go ahead and get started today with the Youth Services Grant Program Workshop. And this is for fiscal year 2022, I'm sorry, 2024 through 2025. So just an overview of what we will be talking about today. First, I'll introduce myself for those of you who might not be familiar with me. My name is Braden Belcher, and I am the grants manager for the city of Urbana, and I'm responsible for managing the youth services uh, grant program. So an overview of what we're going to be talking about at today's workshop. I'm going to be going over a brief overview of the program, including different requirements and things like that. I'll also be discussing the application timeline. And then I'll go into more detail about what the application process will also look like. And then there'll be plenty of time at the end for a Q&A. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to put those in the chat. Otherwise, there will be time at the end for a Q&A. Everyone has been muted. However, at the end, you'll have the ability to unmute yourself and you can ask your question, or like I said, you can put it in the chat. So let's get started. So I do see some familiar faces here with us today. So I think some of you have applied and received youth services grant funding before through the city of Urbana. So it's good to see you back. We're glad to have you. But for those of you who might not be familiar or who might not have applied before, um, the City of Urbana's Youth Services Grant Program provides funding to public and private nonprofit agencies that provide community-based services and programming for low-income Urbana youth. So I'll go into a little bit more detail about what types of programs can be funded and things like that. But the program is intended to serve, again, Urbana youth from early childhood through 22 years of age who come from low income families. So this is just some fun pictures of programs we have funded in the past. Again, I recognize some of you on the workshop here today. There have been really wonderful programs that we've been able to fund throughout the past several years. Programs that provide everything from after school programming, educational programming, recreation, a wide variety of programs that have really made a huge impact on the lives of young people in Urbana. So we're really excited about being able to offer this funding opportunity and the impact that it makes in the community. So this grant targets three key service areas. Health, well-being, and opportunity. Now, these are kind of broad categories. So a lot of different types of programs can, fit within the one of those three areas. So when we talk about health, we're thinking of healthcare programs, maybe mental health resources, trauma support, things of that nature. Well-being can encompass everything from violence prevention and after-school educational programming to recreational activities or mentoring programs, things like that. And then opportunity really focuses on workforce development, job training opportunities, and things like that. And we definitely understand that oftentimes your program might be all free. That's we love to set these kind of be it's designs for this grant opportunity is really focusing on. So for this year, 2024, we have $100,000 available in funding for this program. So just a little down here, 75,000 that comes from the City of Urbana General Funds, then an additional 5,000 through these Community Development, which is a program through the U.S. Department of Health and Urban Development. Definitely realize that $100,000 is not a whole lot of money. We have lead funds. We understand the concept that can cause. As with this, we're looking for fund programs that can really maximize the impact of this funding. in the community. So for this year's cycle, that most grant award will be 25,000. Again, we not hard in the application. We want to tell us what you need, but just for context, you're putting together your proposal. Just keep this in context again, about the $10,000 to $20,000 award. Okay, so this thing is meant to support and luncheon programs that are primarily geared toward urban residents, low-income Urbana residents between the ages of childhood and 22 years old. The funding can support a variety of different types of that. So you can provide it can support programs payroll for that you might have working on your program. It might help provide operating costs for your program. It can goods and services, and it can also be used for the rental that you use for your program. You see on the left hand of your screen. I apologize, this is a little confusing. So the things on the right of the left hand screen are eligible expense. On the left hand side are things that you can use for. So again, it's not confusing, but the concept this funding cannot be for. So I want to just right at the beginning. This can be used for suburbs or grants to agency. If it receives funds, you can't get an award either. It needs to be for your direct services to. This cannot be used during its new program participants. Definitely understand that programs incentive students that are in the program time payment to help students. This funding cannot be used for that purpose. Also, things it can't be matched under this grant program. These funds also not be used for costs or any sort of costs. Think in terms of fixed right, build or expand facility. This program really is focusing on direct program services to rather than those costs. The funds we use for no residents. We completely understand in the community, they might serve from all over Champaign, definitely understand that, but to be used to Urbana. So we didn't about this again. I'll just slide. It's a little bit on the left hand is the things that are eligible, and then right are things that are not eligible. So briefly, the timeline of the application. So in addition to on March 14th, you attend both. You are certainly welcome to attend one of the sessions. So that's great. To come back in March, or maybe to add questions, you certainly. Applications will first at 4 p.m. All applications submitted through our Neighborly Grants Management. We'll have more about it, and those will be due on April 1st. And then in April, May, awards that we issue will have to go through the approval process. If your agency selected for funding, we'll notify you process. And then the funding will begin by 1/2025 and 30 of 2025. Application process. The city utilizes neighbor management software. It's a very intuitive, very easy to use grant management portal. The link is available on our website, sharing our web information at the end of the presentation. If you've applied program before, or if your agency has an application or a application that has a portal, you can use your account. You'll just create a new application for this funding source. And then we also see very often that one agency might submit an application to fund multiple different programs. That is definitely allowed. That's definitely eligible. But you're just going to be submitting one application as a way for you to include budget. Include individual programs. You'll just be submitting one application in the Neighborly software. So the application will require a number of documents to be uploaded along with your application. These are pretty standard, in terms of what we ask for every year. We will want to see your agency's current fiscal year budget, just that, and that's for your entire agency, not just your program, but for all of your programs that your agency does. We will want to see a list of your board members and officers of your organization. We will need your most recent Illinois charitable organization annual report. We'll need either an audit or certified financial statements. We understand that not every agency has an audit or necessarily requires an audit. If that's the case, we do need to see financial statements that are certified by a certified public accountant. So those are important just to show, sort of financial records and things like that. We'll also need proof of your nonprofit status. So that's your IRS tax exempt letter or other proof of 501c3 status. We'll want to see your Illinois tax exempt letter and then your most recent Illinois certification of good standing. So the Neighborly portal will guide you through all of these, and you'll be able to upload copies to your application, and those will all have to be submitted before you submit your application. So every application that we receive for this program is going to be scored against the same rubric. So there will be a grant review committee once the applications close on April 1st that will be reviewing your applications. And so I just wanted to share this because this is how your application will be scored. And I think this will give a really good roadmap for you as you start working on your application, because this is what we're looking for. So if you know what we're looking for, it'll be easier for you to compile your application and to give us the information that we're looking for. So there will be two unscored program eligibility criteria. So one, does your program address at least one of the key service areas? And then the second one, we'll just have to see that all of the required documentation has been submitted. So those two items are not scored, but they will be required in order for your application to move to the next level of review. So there will be 10 scored criteria, which you can see here. So you can see the criteria on the left-hand side and then the scoring benchmark on the right. So I'll just go through each one of these quickly here. So we'll want to see that your program is meeting an unmet need or gap in service in the community. We understand that a lot of agencies do have maybe similar programs. So this is an opportunity for you just to really highlight what your program does and how it differs from other similar programs in the community. And it's a really great opportunity for you just to brag on yourself and talk about all the amazing things you do and how what you do is unique from other similar services in the community. Number two here, we'll want to see that your agency has experience managing grant awards. So again, we do want to see some capacity to manage grant awards. Number three, we'll want to see that you have the capacity to operate beyond just 1 year of funding. We are looking at program sustainability. We don't want to be the only source of funding for your program. We want to see that you're leveraging other funds and have other resources that can help sustain your program. Again, because we're looking for longevity, we're looking for sustainability, and so that's a really important piece of that. Number four here, it's going to be important to see that your program is increasing services rather than just replacing services that you're already offering. We like to think of this funding as building capacity, right? Building capacity to serve more people. So guys, we talk about things that you're doing, all these that this funding is going to help you solve your area. Number five, the program that you are asking funding, asking for describe how your METs are. So again, just make sure you include as much detail as possible how you are managing your METs are. We want to see that there's clear understanding of how program goodness is evaluated. That's what I mentioned. So again, we're still for if your program you are successfully rated using grant funds, so again, for you to talk about things that you try to handle the programs. We know it's funding very limited, and so we want to see how you are using these other resources to help you. We want to see that it's reasonable. Using so many clients like serving, without a contract that is something that so understand like your program, your application, then their cost, and we want to see it really maximize that work. Number nine, we are going to see collaboration. There are a lot of really cool organizations in this community that you hear operating organizations. So, and take opportunity to really talk about all the parts of the community, all the ways to is work in the community. And then number one, diversity is a very word in this area. We are going to be looking at the demographic of your voice. We do want to see that staff is above people. We'll get a section in the application where you get information. Again, we're not so we're not to be a target lane and what diversity are. So again, training opportunities are okay. Again, just time and area to organization. Reliable sponsor report. Okay, so we want to think about so the Urbana US /G. There's like legal organizations like we posting recording questions. You can get any email or anything like that. You can all find answers to one Q&A document, and that way you have access to the same information, and you all have answers to very common questions people ask. So if you already definitely keep documenting regularly. So if there's a question you would like to ask, that's the source. I said it's recorded and also be on the website. So all that now for QA, you hand yourself and ask a question in the chat. We'll say when you're from we want and she's the organization. Who is applying agency is the just putting financial information you're working. So you don't need to